And you know what time it is. It is 8 a.m. Eastern. Well, for some of us, Mark finds himself all the way across the world today. But it is time for Sales Logic, the show where we dive into the strategies, discuss the steps, everything that you need to know to sell logically. Mark, this morning I'm in New Hampshire getting ready to keynote for an event, but tell our audience where the heck you are.
Well, I'm in Kyoto, Japan, where it is just 9:02 p.m. Saturday night. So let me tell you something. You're going to have a great Saturday because I've had a great Saturday here. So hey, what can I say? I just love to predict the future.
Yeah, how you doing with the time change?
Actually, not bad. But when this is over, I'm going to bed. Okay.
All right, well, let's go ahead and start the show so we can discuss sales and get Mark all tucked away while the rest of us begin our day. Once again, it is 8 a.m. Eastern, time for Sales Logic. Mark, I'm going to tell the group really quick how the show works, and then you dive into the topic. Every week,
You got
Mark
it.
and I come to you, obviously, no matter where we are in the world, because Mark's so dedicated. He's doing this from Japan today. And we pick a hot topic, take a question from you, the audience. If you ever want to be a part of Sales Logic, we would love it. Just go to saleslogicpodcast.com, enter your question. We do a recommend a book and do a lightning round because we want you to walk away with return on investment. So, Mark, what is our hot topic for today?
Hey, the topic we're going to be dealing with today really plays into the whole sales logic system that we're going to be talking about on May 24th. The topic here today is keeping clients engaged from contacts to close. And we're going to be really talking about the engagement process. And the question comes from Ricardo in Illinois. So I think my sales team is unusual. We have no trouble getting in the door. We can get to the decision makers, have great conversations, but after one or two calls, more than half of our prospects are going cold. The conversations just stop. Why? What's going on? How do we turn it around? I have to say, not only did that question come in from Ricardo this week, but I got that question from a VP of sales with another company I'm working with, not the one here in Japan, but with another company I'm working with. The exact same thing. Customers falling out, ghosting. What are your thoughts?
Well, number one, first, I got to congratulate Ricardo. Number one, I think getting in the door is the hardest part of the sales process. So, kudos to your team for being able to make that leap. Second, is the deal is going cold, there can be a number of reasons, one of which may have absolutely nothing to do with you. We're recording this in May of 2023, and we have had a lot of developments in the marketplace. Another bank failed this week. Others are sort of toppling that way. We're getting a little break from inflation, but it's expected to come back probably stronger than it was before. So, you should expect deals to slow down, and slowing down sometimes looks like cold. These people that you're calling on have a whole lot of pressure. So, number one, remember, it may have absolutely nothing to do with you. The second piece, and this is what I suspect Mark is going to get into, I'm really interested in what you're doing with that first conversation and how strongly your team is able to identify what is the urgent need, not the need, the urgent need, something that they feel they need to take action on now.
Man, you picked up on where I was going to be running with this. This is so key. Many times people will take a meeting just because it's of interest, it's a new technology, it's a new service on. They may feel that they need to get, but if it isn't urgent on their plate right now, they're not going to continue with it. This is so key. You have to uncover in this initial call, what is the urgency? What is the reason why? Because here's the whole thing. And Meredith, you said, well, because the economy is going sideways. Yeah, I refuse to use that. I refuse to use that other word. I'm an optimist. I think we've turned the corner on inflation, but we'll go into that in another show. Anyway, here's the deal. if it's not in the number one or number two priorities of a customer, they're not going to move forward. So they're going to put you on the shelf. But remember, just like what Mayor said, they may be putting you on the shelf, not getting back to you, but you're on their shelf. So what does this mean? You still got to keep sending them information. You've got to keep, but it's not information that says, "Hey, buy for me," or following up, checking in. No, it's information giving them insights, giving them things of value that they can run with, that they can learn from, and they continue to see you as a value added player for them. They may not need to talk to you now, but keep those lines of communication open.
Yeah, Ricardo, I would say you need to go sit in on some of those calls. I would really want to know what my salespeople are talking about, what they are engaging in. Another reason that people don't call you back is you talked at the customer, and this is fundamentally a big problem with sales professionals. And I get it. Somebody grants you a meeting, and what they're doing is saying you can come talk to me for 10 or 15 minutes, and you take that as the opportunity to get through the door, and you say, I only have 10 to 15 minutes. I need to get all this information out. And a first call is only about one thing, and that is listening to the customer. Why? Well, we discussed the fact that you want to figure out the urgent need, but the other is listening first establishes trust. The job with a first call is to differentiate yourself from other people. So if Mark and I are both calling on the same prospect, and I go in there and I think I have 15 minutes and I tell this prospect every way I can solve every problem they've got, and Mark goes in and asks them questions, who do you think that they're going to meet with again? Well, they're going to meet with Mark. And the reason is you're like, well, Meredith, you just told them you could solve every problem they've got. I don't know what the problem is. And they know. See, when we listen to people, it is how we lay the foundation that says this relationship will always be more about you than it is about me. And when things get a little bit wonky, as I tend to, Mark, I do want to have that debate about in inflation. I think it's coming back tenfold. Um, is that when people feel that way, when they don't feel heard, until people are heard, they can't hear you.
Here's something. I'm going to run with what you were talking about. It's asking them questions, because one of the reasons they disengage with you, they don't get back to you, is because why should they? Because you haven't shared with them. But here's the thing. If on this initial call you uncover some information, you ask their opinion, you get their insights, this is then information that you now use to follow up with them. You follow, hey, by the way, when we were talking a couple weeks ago, you mentioned this, and I got some more information on it. Want to get your additional opinion, get another insight, get another example. But you pick up on what they shared with you. Anytime a salesperson has the ability to replay back to the customer information that the customer shared earlier on a previous call, you're going to score points, because it tells the customer that you listened, and it tells the customer that you value their opinion. Guess what? It's all in that recipe of building a relationship and creating trust.
Yeah, Dwayne, such a great point. Don't avoid the elephant in the room. Let them talk about their urgency and needs. Dwayne, this reminds me so much of a call that I was on a couple of years ago, and I went in. It was for sales training, and when I got in there, the CEO used our entire meeting to talk about how worried he was that his sales team wasn't on LinkedIn. Now, I don't train LinkedIn. I don't even fully utilize LinkedIn. I'm sure there's a lot I need to learn about it. But I listened to him and I set him up with a friend of ours who does LinkedIn training. I ended up getting that sales training, and I really believed I got that sales training because I'm sure he talked the same way to all 5 competitors I had, but I was the only one who solved his problem. So it's important to note that, see, when I listened to that and when I said, I know somebody I think could help you, he saw me not as a salesperson, but as a member of his team who could help him accomplish his goals. That opened the door for the next meeting.
And when you come across one, when you come back to them, make sure they see you as a peer. In a situation I'm dealing with right now, CEO of a company, he and I have had a couple conversations going back several months. And he's got the proposal. We've gone through the proposal. He's ready to pull the trigger, but then he's gone dark on me. And this has been going on for about 3 weeks. And I keep sending him information, new updates, new insights, new information that he can use in his company right now. And then I finally reached back out to him again, and I do this by way of voicemail and also an email. And he hasn't been responding. Finally, he reached back out to me the other day. He said, I apologize, Mark. I've been traveling Europe, seeing a bunch of customers, and I just got to get my arms around these customers in Europe before I have the conversation with you. But then I came back to him by way of an email and said, great, what's a time that's going to work for you while you're in Europe? And we arranged a time this coming week for us to talk. So there was that dark, quiet period. And I was beginning to think, is this going to happen? Perfectly valid reason. He's running around Europe, closing deals, making things happen. He's the CEO of his company. So, in other words, don't always accept that because they've gone dark on you, they've gone silent, they're ghosting you, that they're not interested. They may just not have the time, but keep sending them insights, not following up, giving them insights of value that they can run with.
Yeah, I love Mark Bregman's comment here. He said Ricardo's prospects may be having FOMO. They know they need a new solution, but are afraid of making a wrong decision. Essentially, they have a fear of messing up. Wow, Mark, you have said so much in just a couple of sentences. So imagine this: Ricardo's prospects have this fear of messing up, fear of making a wrong decision. And listen, that is going to be more prevalent in today's marketplace because the budget has shrunk. You've got to make a decision that's going to bring you return on investment. So you're there, you're a prospect, and you're afraid of making a wrong decision. And you have a salesperson just dinging on you, trying to get you to meet again. This is something that I use whenever my prospects go dark. Whenever, and it happens to me a lot. When they go dark, I always just send an email saying, I know you're busy. Don't worry about following up with me. I'm going to continue to stay in touch with you, just send you some information, like Mark said, that would be of a value. And when you're ready to discuss further, I'll be here. But giving people that permission and respecting the fact that they need space is really critical. And that's really what Mark Bregman is saying here. These people are a little bit indecisive, and empathy is such an important skill in sales. Having that empathy to realize that they're not really sure what to do, and you can't push them, but you can pull them through the sales process.
Yeah, and in this period of weird economic factors we're dealing with and tight budgets, it becomes easier for the company to say, we're just not going to make a decision. We are not going to make a decision. Now that doesn't work to your advantage because it also allows the customer then time to say, maybe there's some other alternatives, maybe there's some other ideas, maybe there's some other solutions that they should look at. So naturally, you want to stay in the game. And you do this by making sure you're coming across as a peer. But here's something else I want you to think about, Ricardo, and this is for anybody and everybody. Right now, because we're in kind of these unusual times, it's very easy for us to think from a prospecting standpoint that we need to go horizontal. We need to find more prospects. We need to broaden our. No, I don't want you to go horizontal. I want you to go vertical. I want you to go deeper into the companies you're dealing with. So, Ricardo, you may want to ask yourself this question. These companies, these people that are ghosting us, do we only have one contact there? Or have we taken the time to be prospecting two, three, four, and five prospects within that same company? Because again, maybe that one person goes radio silent on us, but somebody else doesn't. Think about your prospecting in difficult times, not going horizontal, but by going vertical, because it gives you more voices, more people you can learn from, more avenues with which you can explore to be able to keep somebody on the radio dial so everybody doesn't go radio silent on you.
Yeah, I also think it's a really good idea that, Ricardo, if you can, do a couple of exercises. And this is a great exercise for anybody listening to this podcast today. Go over your last 5 calls. Just sit down and, as a team, and brainstorm. what worked? What did you do really well that got you through the door? Where did you connect with that prospect? And then where, if you had to do it all over again, what or anything could you do differently? I mean, I wonder if you're struggling to get back through the door, are your sales team leaving the meeting without setting the next meeting? I mean, that'll kill you right there. I mean, you've got the person live breathing right in front of you, and you have established some level of need. So set that next meeting before you ever get out of it. In other words, Ricardo, I want you to reflect. I want you to gather your team together, really talk about what's working in getting through the door and why you can't get the second meeting. You get all those heads together, you will figure it out.
And Ricardo, I hope that you're using whether it be Gong or Chorus to record your calls. But here's something I find very interesting. I bet your salespeople are spending way too much time talking. I bet on these initial calls, they're doing the majority of the talking. See, here's the whole situation. Think about this, Ricardo. If you had only time to return one call, would you return a call to somebody who you really don't know? Or would you return a call to somebody that you feel you have a relationship with? You would return the call to somebody you feel you have a relationship with. This is why it's so imperative now more than ever that we have to go into every sales call. And this is going to scare some people. Let the customer drive. Whoa, what did he just? Yeah, let the customer drive. You want to put questions out on the table and let the customer share with you that information. Now you still got control of the car. You still know where it's going, but you're giving them the impression that they're in control. Why? Because you have got to get them to feel comfortable about you and sharing with you that information. Goes back to what I talked about earlier. It's that information I'm going to follow back up with, but it's all about creating that trusting relationship. Because I'll tell you what, it's really hard to build a relationship by way of email. It just doesn't work. So hopefully you've had a couple of meetings, at least one or two meetings, like you said, Ricardo, and you've had that conversation. That's how you begin to build that relationship. Now I can add to the relationship with email, but I can't start the relationship by way of email.
I love that, Christopher. I love so much that you picked up on the comment of don't push the customer, pull them through the process. I just wanted to double down on this because it's so key in today's marketplace. There is nothing that any of us are selling, not one person who is on this podcast right now, that our prospects can't find somewhere else. So the relationship and the connection that they feel through us. Now, imagine you and I are hiking up a mountain. If I push you up that mountain, it doesn't feel good. If I pull you up the mountain, that feels good. So at the beginning of the sales process, we have to pull people to us. It's like Mark said, and let the customer drive. Let them know that they're in control and really, really follow, really follow that lead. And I wonder if you're not getting a second conversation, if you're getting through the door and you're having that initial conversation, but you can't get back through the door. What happened in that initial meeting that left the customer flat? Go back and analyze that, because if you added any value at all, they will want to meet with you again. And my guess is you're not solving their problems.
And Ricardo, I'm going to pick up on this. I'm going to ask you this question. These customers that are ghosting you, are they in your sweet spot? Are they truly in your ICP? Because here's what, again, I'm finding. Again, this goes back to this horizontal versus vertical conversation. I'm finding salespeople unknowingly, they're going horizontal and they're getting outside their sweet spot. They're getting outside their ICP. And they're getting meetings, they're having conversations, but then the customer says, this isn't what we're looking for. So naturally they go radio silent. So Ricardo, look at that profile, hone in on that. I can't stress this enough. You've got to stay laser focused. And again, Ricardo, I'm going to harp on this. Go vertical. When I'm prospecting like this, I've got to go in with 2 and 3. I do this routinely with companies I'm working with. I happen to be over here in Japan right now. And I probably have 7 different relationships happening. And what does it do? It allows the conversation to keep going despite somebody falling off because of time zones, because of whatever. but it keeps the conversation going, and it ultimately creates more value, which creates a better win for the customer. They feel like, wow, this is unbelievable. And what does it do for you as a salesperson? You're able to help them achieve even bigger results than they ever expected before. So I can't stress it. Go vertical. Look at whether or not they're in your ICP. And man, by all means, make sure your salespeople aren't doing the talking on that initial call.
Tim Marvel, the remarkable speaker, is in the house with us today.
Hey,
It says, don't get frustrated when you don't hear back. Somebody's always listening. Absolutely. It's not about you. And Dwayne, you are so right. Never leave a meeting without scheduling the next. I want to point out the fact that Dwayne is talking here about an agenda. I love that you mentioned that because it isn't about asking for the next meeting. It's taking control of the next meeting. I had a prospect call just a couple of days ago, and we're kind of trying to figure out, if I'm a right fit for one of their speaking engagements. And basically, at the end of the call, what I said was, "Here's the information I'm going to follow up with on you. I want you to take a couple of days and review it, and let's meet again on Friday at 10 o'clock." I mean, the assumed sale, right? You just take control of the situation and of the call. But I love the fact that Dwayne said here an agenda, because I think that people struggle to give us time on their calendar. I know I do. I don't have time to waste. So if I don't know what we're going to do in that call and I don't know why I should show up for it, I need that 20 or 30 minutes back in my schedule.
I like that. I mean, don't go putting that mystery call on somebody's calendar, because if I see a meeting on my call and it doesn't recall who it is, I just blow that meeting off. Period. So anyway, hey, time is moving along. We got to get in. We got to get into the book, but we should talk real quick. May 24th, virtual or in person. What are we doing that day?
We are going to be together in Dallas, Texas, and we are going to be talking sales systems and sales process. Listen, everything about today's marketplace is shifting. It is changing, and your sales process needs to be updated with it. You need a very simple, a very customer focused, and as Dave Sanderson says here, really focused on the buying process rather than the selling process. And we're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to get to work, and we are going to build a sales system for you that is guaranteed to make 2023 your best year on record and position you that no matter what this marketplace does, you are ready to sell effectively in it.
Yeah, so jump out to saleslogicpodcast.com. You see it there. Dave, you're coming, I know. Mark Bregman, you bought a VIP ticket. Looking forward to having dinner with you the night before. It's going to be a great event, whether you join us online or in person, join us. Hey, the book. We got to get into the book. The book, gee, I think I know something about this book. It's High Profit Prospecting, written by this guy by the name of Mark Hunter. You know what? That book was translated in Japanese. I guess I should have a copy of the Japanese version here with me, but I guess I don't. So anyway, but hey,
Yeah,
in that book,
well, it's difficult for you to say anything, but I'm going to say something. Is that I don't know anybody who knows more about prospecting than Mark Hunter. So if you are looking for ways to increase your ability to not only get in the door but stay in the door and get that deal to close, understand it all begins with the beginning of the sales call. And Mark Hunter really focuses strongly on what you need to do to really get prospects that not only buy from you but build relationships with you. So check out High Profit Prospecting.
Hey, with that, we need to jump into the top takeaways. And of course, you can go to saleslogicpodcast.com and you can grab kind of the handout with this. But top 10 ways to keep prospects engaged. Hey, John Register's in the house. I got this on my smartphone, so I can't read it. But why don't you go ahead and share a little bit of what John's talking about here?
Well, John is, boy, if you don't know John Register, you need to follow John Register. I don't know anybody who speaks more eloquently on resilience and has a better story than John, but just talking about how much value he gets from Sales Logic. And John and I were together at a board meeting in High Point University about a week or so ago, and had the pleasure of really listening to Nito Quabain talk about appreciated value, which makes sure that you focus on the customer experience. But Mark, into the lightning round. What are
Okay.
we focused on?
Okay. Top 10 ways to keep prospects engaged. Go.
Number one, Focus that first call 100% on listening.
2, follow up with what they share with you on that first call in your subsequent emails, voicemails, conversations.
Yeah, I would say that set the call before you leave the call. If you want to stay engaged, set the expectation that you're going to stay engaged.
With each follow up message, bring a new piece of value, bring a new piece of insight that they can begin to see you as an expert.
Yeah, I'm going to take Dwayne's idea of setting agendas and letting the prospect know ahead of time what you'll be focused on and the value that you're going to bring to the table.
Go vertical. Never have just one prospect that you're talking to, but have two or three. So there's other people for you to be reaching out and talking to.
Yeah, if the prospect goes cold, don't take it personally. Realize 99.9% of the time, it has nothing to do with you.
Stay in the game. Keep your cadence up in terms of follow up. Remember, they are looking at you and they're looking at you as to, if they do buy from you, that's probably how you're going to work with them if they're a customer. So be consistent with your follow up, but just remember, be bringing value.
Yeah, start to showcase how you're an expert in the industry, meaning that you can showcase how you understand the top problems that they have and some of the ways that you have solved some of those problems.
Don't hesitate to drop in a success story, a case study, something else that you have done in a similar business, similar industry, as a way to demonstrate your authenticity, your proof, the fact that you've been down this rodeo before.
Yeah, and that's especially valuable if you can do it with a name that they know or somebody that they will recognize. If you're working in the travel and tourism industry by, saying you did something for Condé Nast, if you're working in the financial services area, showcasing that you did something for Merrill Lynch, something that they recognize because they're looking for a way to build trust with you.
I'll share one more. You share one more, and we'll close the show down. Don't hesitate to reach out to them on a Friday afternoon. It's amazing. Friday afternoons are a great time to be able to get people on the telephone because they're a little more laid back. And guess what? They'll actually pick up, answer, and have a conversation with you.
Yeah, have the courage to go backwards in order to propel yourself forwards. If they're not responding and don't want to talk business right now, what you want to do is maybe invite them to an event, make a connection for them for somebody that they can do business with, but understand that maybe the relationship moved a little too fast for them, and be willing to back up in order to go forward.
Hey, before we close the show down, once again, remind you, May 24th, go out to saleslogicpodcast.com. You get all the information there, whether it be online or in person. We're going to be rolling out the Sales Logic system. You're going to get the blueprint. It's going to be a great day. Meredith and I are going to be, it's just the two of us. Yes, but we're going to share with you everything regarding sales from contact to close. And believe me, it puts the human element back in, puts technology in its place because it puts you in the driver's seat. So with that, we want to say, hey, thank you for listening to Sales Logic. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend, would you? Because it's how we grow when we help you grow. Hey, I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meredith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
Uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
and the sale becomes logical.
All right. We will see you on May 24th in Dallas, Texas, live or online for Sales Logic Live, where we are going to dive in and give you the sales strategy you need to succeed in today's marketplace. And join us right back here next week, 8 a.m. Eastern. Not sure where Mark or I will be on that date, but the one thing you can guarantee is we will be here with you for another episode of Sales Logic.